Hello, welcome everyone. This is Ali. I am basically head of finance and investments here at LIC Islamabad. So, we closely work with many regulators. We bring uh, your problems to the regulator and we bring solution to that. Uh, उसके अंदर जितने रेगुलेटर हैं वो उसके हमें रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं वी डू डिफरेंट सेशन एससीसीपी ने मैं इसको भी ब्रीफ करूंगा कि इनोवेशन ऑफिस बनाया है तो फर्स्ट आई वुड लाइक टू basically tell you about National Incubation Center. Those who you are not aware of what we are, what we do, and what we offer. So basically, National Incubation Center is Pakistan's largest technology incubation center, the first purpose-built creative space. We have also got a prize for that. Uh, we bring innovators, mentors, change makers, and passionate leaders. It is a living example of successful public-private partnership between Ministry of IT and Telecom. National Incubation Center is basically funded by the Ignite Fund, and it is awarded to Jazz and managed by Team Up. The National Incubation Center in Islamabad is led by two unicorn founders with around decade of combined experience in setting up organizations from scratch and bringing digital revolution in Pakistan. So we, the NIC team, looks forward to adding value and assist the new startups in transitioning smooth through the rigorous yet exciting entrepreneurial journey ahead of them. And as the NIC has entered into fifth year of operation, the induction of 10 cohort is a hallmark in its journey over a 5 period. The NIC has successfully incubated 231 startups in 10 cohort. For more information about NEC and what we offer, we are running the applications for our Activate is open. I would like to tell you in more detail after this session. You can visit our website nicpakistan.pk. So today we have again collaborated with SCCP and its innovation office, which they have recently formed. SCCP has major strides in providing an enabling environment for Pakistan's private equity and venture capital industry. The webinar aims to focus on the regulatory framework, impact of recent changes made in private fund regulations, which is of 2015, and recent facilitation in the SBP Foreign Exchange Manual for foreign investor investing in the locally domiciled private funds registered with the SCCP. Those who basically not aware of, SCCP is the financial regulatory agency in Pakistan whose objective is to develop a modern and efficient corporate sector and a capital market based on sound authority principles in order to encourage investment, foster economic growth and prosperity in Pakistan. So SCCP brings a lot of innovations to it, basically from opening up a bank account, for newly registered company, you will have a FBR once you open your NTN number, once you open with the company with the SCCP, and we have business that we can open within some hours a company with the SCCP. And so today's seminar is basically about private equity funds. We are joined by Mr. Sajjad Ali, who is the additional director SCCP, and Umar Yahya, additional joint director SCCP. The duo will discuss the basically facilitating venture capital and private equity investment. I would like to basically brief on the speaker's profile. Mr. Sajjad Ali is the additional director at the specialized companies division in SCCP. He has experience over 16 years in disruptive in modernizing Pakistan's capital markets through implementing of robust reform agenda. He has worked with different administrating laws, policies, and procedure. He is very focal about the SCCP new initiatives, state-of-art risk mitigation practices, and market infrastructure. And on the other side, we have Mr. Umar Yahya, who is basically additional joint director. He has 12 years of broad-based experience with the SCCP, ranging from authorization and development of primary markers to implementation the ML regime for SCCP. During his 5 years, he has been actively involved in licensing and regulatory approvals for NBFCs, AMCs, mutual funds, PFMCs, and private equity and venture capital funds, and policy development and regulatory reform for these sectors. He is currently dealing with SCP policy and regulatory functions, promotion and development of the private fund and industry. So they have their basically slides where they will tell you about the recent development in venture capital and private equity. We are live on Facebook. We have many participants on Zoom. We will be taking your question once they brief you on their profile. And over to you guys, Umar and Sajjad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Ali, for such a flattering introduction, first of all. And since I've been told that this is about an hour long webinar, so I'll just get right into the presentation and what we have to offer. I'm seeing a lot of questions showing interest in basically what private equity and venture capital is. And I think that is precisely what this presentation will be taking you through. So if you could just go through the contents of the presentation, Omar, can you skip to the next slide, please? All right, so because we understand that a lot of effort NIC has also told, and there's a lot of effort going on and a lot of activity in the startup space of Pakistan and a lot of large deals, and so now I think the regulated side of it that comes under the SECP, we would like to tell people about the convenience and the utility and the ease of doing business measures that the SECP has in the regulated side. So to start with, just to give you some fundamentals of the sector that we regulate, we're going to be getting into the introduction to private funds itself. Private funds comprise of private equity and venture capital funds. And then we also have alternative funds. So we'll be getting into that. Then the types of private funds, what categorizes a private fund, who can invest in a private fund, who can launch a private fund. Then we have some very interesting changes that we'd like to share with the participants regarding the recent changes in the private fund regulations. And the procedure, a brief overview of the procedure for the launch of private funds, and then we'll get into the regulatory framework, fees, and applicable tax regime, because these specialized companies are a tax-sensitive product, and they have some tax-enabling environments which the FPR has granted. So we'll get into that. And then the second part, which is a very important key, I was having a discussion with you, Ali, regarding foreign investment. And I think, that it's important that the State Bank has made major strides in amending the FE manual. And initially, foreigners weren't really recognized to invest in private funds, private equity, venture capital funds licensed by the SECP, or alternative funds licensed by the SECP. So recent changes with the SECP with the SBP were taken up by the SECP, and I'll give you a bit of a background on those changes, then the key changes and situations that are catered in the FE manual, the scenarios in which such investment is allowed, and then some basic procedural requirements which, if the participants aren't too bored, I'll be running through. So Omar, can we start with the introduction to private funds, please?
Gee, so we'll just start with the basic things. So what is a private fund? Basically, a private fund under our regulatory framework is a fund that invests in portfolio of securities and or other financial assets. It is available to eligible investors only. So we have a limit of now 50 eligible investors, and there's no cap on institutional investors. It cannot be offered to general public, and it is available in open-end and closed-end structure. I'll explain open-end and closed-end structure, while we go through our the slides. Once we're done with that, we'll explain what open-end and closed-end structure is. There are no regulatory investment limits, and there's no maximum or minimum fund size.
Umar, I would like to add, if for general public, we are also getting question if we can define at the initial what is like private fund in more detail, and venture capital also.
So we will cover all of that. All of that is covered in the next slides. Okay. But I think the question and answer session would be right at the end, or do you want to keep it in the middle?
No, it will be at the end.
Right. I think it's important what you raised, and I think it's for the general people that are attending with lack of knowledge regarding this area. See, private funds, what you could refer is a collective pool of funds that is used to invest in a specified investment avenue. which is disclosed to the investors. So what happens is, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of mutual funds and real estate investment trusts, and so private funds are slightly more comparatively technical in terms of the investment avenues that they are investing in. So you asked about private equity and venture capital. We're going to give you in the next slide the definition, but they can invest in startups, they can invest in companies that they want to turn around, they can invest in primarily the unlisted space. That is for the private equity and venture capital funds. And then if you want to invest in listed securities and turning around listed companies, then you also have the option of alternative funds, which can go into, turning around companies, acquiring companies, and then go into derivatives. So we'll get into that, but the basic fundamental is that a collective pool of funds. Now, the important thing to understand here is, because there is higher risk, and like you said, startups, there is a stronger risk in terms of their success and failure rate. So for such funds, the pool of investors that can invest in such funds has been limited to eligible investors. Now, eligible investors are not just me and you. They are people who are savvy for their investment and their money, and they have a certain net worth, which is defined in the regulations as 15 million rupees, right? So not everyone can get into this space, and the number of eligible investors has also been limited to maximum 50 investors. And institutions, of course, have the opportunity to evaluate the risk parameters of the types of investment that the private fund will be getting into, and then invest based on their own risk profiles and risk assessment policies. Okay, Umar, please carry on.
So these are the types of private funds that we have in Pakistan. Private fund is categorized basically into two categories. There's this private equity and venture capital fund, and then there's the alternative fund. We have further subcategorized that whoever invests, for instance, if there's private equity and venture capital fund, if it invests 70% of its net assets in private equity, it will be categorized as private equity. In venture capital, it will be categorized as venture capital, angel fund. So the investment objective has to be 70% achieved in order for the category to be for the private equity to have the category.
Okay, so this slide will answer a lot of Ali's questions, I think.
So this is basically private equity and venture capital fund, right? So it can only, there are basically two types of private funds, right? As mentioned earlier, there's the private equity and venture capital fund, and then there's the alternative fund, right? So in private equity and venture capital fund, it can only be established in a closed-end structure. Closed-end structure means that the tenure and the shares, it is all capped. There's a limit to it. It can invest mainly in securities or financial assets other than derivatives. So this is very important, that a private equity and venture capital fund can invest mainly in securities or financial assets other than derivatives of an unlisted company, for turning around a listed company, listed and unlisted SME, small medium enterprise, unlisted company engaged in business of investing in developing a new product or process or expansion of business. So this is the definition of private equity and venture capital fund in Pakistan. Alternative fund. It can be established in both open-end and closed-end structure. It can invest in portfolio of securities, other financial assets other than PE and VC funds. And use of derivatives is allowed, such as future contracts, etc.
So just to carry on from what Umar has said about closed-end and open-end funds, see, at the time of initial offer of the funds, if the fund determines that, this is the number of investors that I'm going to have, for example, 20, and the fund issues units to those investors, then the fund over its life cannot add more investors, because by nature it is a closed-end fund. So for an open-end fund, you have more flexibility in terms of the number of investors that you can attract over the life of the fund. But VC funds are closed-end funds, given the investment mandate and the principle that the investor is agreeing to a particular investment risk and a particular investment parameters. So that is why PEVC is in closed-end structure, and for alternative funds, because they're generally going to be investing in listed companies and securities. So they've been given more flexibility in terms of being open-end or closed-end.
Should we move on?
Gigi, please.
So now, who can launch a private fund? Any form of company incorporated as a NBFC can apply for private equity and venture capital fund management services license from the SECP. Any existing fund management company, for instance, any investment advisor, asset management company, or a REIT management company can also launch their private funds after obtaining license, a PEVC license from SECP. The minimum equity requirement is 10 million rupees. Then the directors have, there's a compliance with the fit and proper criteria, which is basically, it is basically under our the non-banking financial companies regulations 2008. It's a basic criteria which includes financial soundness, competence, integrity, and conflict of interest for directors and CEO of the particular NBFC. Then you have to have independent directors and directors who have relevant experience. They have to be on the board for the NBFC.
So again, to summarize this slide, precisely what Umar said, that not everyone can come and launch a private equity and venture capital fund or an alternative fund. It has to be a private fund management company, and the private fund management company has to seek a license from the SECP as an NBFC that will undertake private fund management services. And while we are giving it that license, we will evaluate the quality of the sponsors and the directors and the internal controls and systems and processes that the company has, and determine that, yes, the company is competent enough to be setting up a fund, which then it can move on to invite the general public into. So it is basically a two-tier structure where there is first a private fund management company, and that private fund management company, once established and licensed by the SECP, can then form funds. And those funds, depending on their corporate structure, which we will get into later, then those funds can actually attract the money from the investors and then invest that money into the already disclosed investment avenues. Chiumar, next slide, please.
So basically, just recently, the SECP made some key changes to the private fund regulations 2015 in order to promote more ease of doing business and promote flexibility and efficiency within the sector. The following steps were taken. Private funds may be established as company under Companies Act 2017 or as LLP, Limited Liability Partner, under Limited Liability Partnership Act, or any other legal structure as approved by the Commission. Initially, we were just doing the trust structure. We have now recently allowed company to be formed as a company, and it can be covered under the Limited Liability Partnership. There's a reduced minimum equity requirement to 10 million rupees now. The removal of minimum investment of rupees 3 million. There was a cap of a minimum 3 million rupees for a person to become an eligible investor. We have removed that. Increase in number of eligible investors and uncapped limits on number of qualified institutional buyers. Sajjad has already told this earlier. And subcategorization as SME fund. So this is basically to bring more clarity. There was this subcategorization as SME fund, venture fund, angel fund, impact fund, hedge fund, etc. So borrowing was also allowed to private equity and venture capital. PV and VC funds allowed to invest in ideas, patents, and trademarks. Private fund management company was also allowed to invest within its surplus equity in private funds, which were managed by it, and more flexibility through investment limits. 70% of its net assets in eligible investment of the subcategory. I've explained this earlier as well, the last point. And
so just one point that I think Umar isn't privy to that conversation that I had with Ali. I'd like to clarify, that so private funds, because I'm also reading the Q&A and a lot of people are slightly, bothered by the technical jargon. So I'll break it down for you and simplify it. So private funds, like I said, is a pool of people's money which can invest into a certain class of companies or category of companies based on its intended expertise, right? So the issue that we were facing in the regulations was that there are a lot of ideas and patents and trademarks, and the valuation of those patents and trademarks and ideas at a certain point in time is much lower. And when you invest and back those ideas and form a company, and then that company grows phenomenally, so you wouldn't want to enter the company when it has already, become huge in size and become expensive to acquire. So for that, what we've actually created room in the regulations where if someone has an idea and they form a company, then that company can be invested in regardless of it actually making something or producing something. So these are, small areas that we have tried to pick in terms of making the private funds more directly contributable to the development of the startup space. And also, for example, for SMEs which cannot secure financing through proper banking channels, this is a great avenue internationally, and we're trying to develop it locally as well, that, for people who can't get financing, companies and corporates who can't get financing from banking channels, or maybe get financing at very disadvantageous rates. So for them, this avenue is available, and a private fund management company can evaluate and is always looking for investments in a particular sector. So for example, we have a private fund management company which has launched a fund which is focused on pharmaceuticals. So that company would be looking at pharmaceuticals. And then we have another venture capital which is looking at, startups. So, and then they can further, sub-classify that if they're looking at fintech startups, or they're looking at just digital or online startups or online retail businesses. And by disclosing that in a document which is called the private placement memorandum. So that memorandum is basically what you could call the fundamental document outlining the entire structure and the process and the investment avenues that the fund will be getting into. So, based on that, a particular segment can be chosen, a particular classification can be chosen, and then that fund can attract money from the investors and invest accordingly. Umar, if you have.
So basically the procedure for launching a fund, it is fairly simple. You have to submit basically the licensed PFMC or the licensed private fund management company. They can launch a fund. All they have to do is follow this process. They have to submit a draft trust deed, or a memorandum of association, or a limited partnership agreement, LPA. So basically, they need to get approval for the draft trust deed, and the custodian and the trustee. Then after that process, they are then registered as a private fund. The fund actually gets registered as a notified entity, and eventually then you have to submit a placement memorandum, which Sajjad just mentioned earlier. You have to submit that to the commission.
Just one thing again I'd like to add is that you need to understand that, once there is a private fund management company which has obtained a license from the SECP, now when that private fund management company is attracting investment, it could, for example, form one fund, like I said, for pharmaceutical investment, and then one fund for online retail businesses. So it is very important for us to establish that the type of investors that it is attracting for the pharmaceutical business, or for, unlisted pharmaceutical companies, as compared to the investors who have agreed to invest in the online retail business. So these are two very different areas with very different risk profiles. And maybe, one of us would like to invest in fund A and the other would like to invest in fund B. So hence, it becomes very important to ensure the segregation of assets of each fund, so that the assets of fund A are not commingled with the assets of fund B. Now, for that, what we've done is, elaborating a bit on the two-tier structure. For that, what we've done is that we've allowed the fund, initially it was allowed to be established in trust structure, because that was the most convenient and flexible way to segregate the assets of the fund. And the regulatory requirements or the parameters governing the fund could basically be elaborated in the trust deed, and you could add as much flexibility as you like. So what we've experienced globally and the interest that the industry has shown is that now in addition to the trust structure, what we've allowed is that the pooling of money
Umar, I think Sajjad has lost the voice. If you can
for a fund can also be in companies. Sorry, can you hear me?
Your voice was breaking. If you can repeat
All
a
right,
bit.
right. Sorry. So what I was saying was basically that the fund itself, where we need to segregate assets. So since we've given the flexibility that once the private fund management company has obtained a license, that private fund management company can launch multiple funds. So it doesn't have to be limited to one fund per license. So it can register fund A as a notified entity, and then it can register fund B as another notified entity. So in that case, now the question arises that what legal structure will that fund exist in so that the assets and liabilities of fund A and fund B are completely segregated and there is transparency for the investors that have invested in a particular fund. So for that, what we've done is we've allowed, initially we had allowed the trust structure, and through signing of a trust deed between the private fund management company and as trustee. And now what we've done in addition to that is we've allowed the company structure, and we've also allowed the limited liability partnership structure. And this is pretty much in line with the global trend and the industry suggestions that we're receiving over time. So we've opened up the corporate structures that you can make a fund in. Umar, please.
Moving on. So basically, this is the regulatory framework that governs the private equity and venture capital space. There's the non-banking and finance companies establishment regulations and rules 2003, the private fund regulations 2015. Both those two are the laws. And then there's also this Schedule 9 of NBFC regulations 2008, which has the fit and proper criteria for the directors and CEO. The fees is we've slashed our fees now. It's basically fund management company formation fee is 250,000 rupees. A fund management company licensing fee is 500,000, and application for registration as private fund is 500,000. ये भी हमने बिल्कुल reduce करके we've like halved it almost. It used to be $1 million, and the fund management company formation fee was around 500,000. So taxation of private funds. The taxation for private equity and venture capital funds is as follows. Any income other than capital gain derived by any private equity and venture capital fund from any instrument of redeemable capital, if not less than 90% of its income of that year, is distributed among the unit holders. So basically what happens is if you acquire a target company, right, and they pay off the dividends, those dividends, if those dividends are distributed, when the fund distributes that dividend to the unit holder, at least 90% of the dividends are distributed, they will be exempted from income tax. Then this tax exemption is available on dividend received by investor of PVC funds out of capital gains. For alternative funds,
hold on, could I just stop you so that I think I'm also going through the Q&As side by side while you're busy with the presentation. So I'll just take a couple of those questions as well. In terms of taxation, it's very important to understand that the intention of investing in a company is to invest when the company is, for example, starting up, and the price of the share of that company at that time could be, say, 10 rupees. And once that company is successful, the worth of the company, the wealth of the company, net assets of the company, whatever term is easily understandable to our participants. So the company grows in value. And when the company grows in value, the intention of the private fund would be to sell off its shares and book a capital gain. And once that, either it sells the entire company, or either it lists the company on the stock exchange and exits itself. So there are different avenues depending on the strategy that the private fund management company has developed, right? So now when the private fund management company decides that fund A, for example, has invested in a pharmaceutical company, and now that pharmaceutical company has grown sufficiently in size that I disinvest the amount that I had put in through fund A. So what I do is I sell my shares or whatever other avenue I use, and the money that I get is now going to be booked as capital gain. So if that capital gain is going to be taxed at 15% or 20%, then the dynamics and the return that I'm going to get is going to change significantly in terms of the profit that my investors are going to be getting, right? So in that case, the Federal Board of Revenue has granted us exemptions through the income tax ordinance, where when I invest through a private fund, the capital gain that is given to me in the form of dividend is not going to be taxed in the hands of the investor. So I'm going to be getting capital gain tax-free in my pocket. So I think this is one of the biggest advantages that private funds offer in terms of being tax sensitive, like I was saying. So you have a complete pass-through tax option where once you invest through a private fund and the money that you make off it, you will not be taxed for it. Jivan.
So then with the alternative funds, there's no pass-through status, there's no tax exemption, and then tax at fund level and also at investor level. So all alternative funds, they're actually on a disadvantage as compared to private equity and venture capital funds. It's the amendments in the foreign exchange manual.
Like I said, if you could just go to the next slide, Umar. Like I said, the SBP has been very cooperative and significant changes have been made in the State Bank of Pakistan FE manual. Those changes, of course, have been made for normal startups outside, the private fund space as well. And, judging by the questions that have been coming from the participants, I'll really simplify this. So the point is that for foreigners to invest in a private fund, initially, the foreign exchange manual did not explicitly refer to such investment. So foreigners were hesitant in terms of that, we're not allowed to bring money into Pakistan for investing in a private fund. In other avenues, yes, the FE manual allows us, but for private equity and venture capital funds, we are not allowed. So we took up this issue with the FBR and with the SBP, sorry. And the SBP has, in February 2021, revised the FE manual, the foreign exchange manual. And through those revisions, the access of our private fund management companies in requesting foreigners to invest through them has become possible. So if you could just go to the next slide, one.
Sorry.
जी तो ओवरव्यू अगर आपको मैं दूं वेरी ब्रीफली के मेजर चेंजेस जो प्राइवेट जो चैप्टर 20 ऑफ एफई मैनुअल में आए हैं, सबसे पहले तो जो प्राइवेट फंड्स हैं दोज वर नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड इन द फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मैनुअल चैप्टर 20. सो व्हेन दे वर नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड, anyone investing in those funds was actually operating outside the bounds of the FE manual. So any foreigner was automatically, like I said, hesitant. So what the State Bank has actually done is now it has recognized private funds in the definition of securities. And by doing that, it has allowed private fund investment by foreigners, number one. Number two, as some of you may know, because there are a lot of experts here of the startup space as well. So as some of you may know, generally for investment in the country, there are two avenues. One, there is a general exemption, and then there is a special permission. So for the special permission, you have to apply to the State Bank, and then, once that application is submitted to the State Bank fulfills a lot of its own requirements and verifications and asks you for documents, and, that process could take comparatively longer. So through these amendments, what the State Bank has done is that if a foreigner is investing in a private fund, which is registered as a notified entity with the SECP, then that investment comes under the general exemption rule. You don't have to take any special permission from the State Bank of Pakistan. And the preconditions for that are that the issue and purchase price is paid through normal banking channels, and through the remittance from abroad is from a foreign currency account. The purchase price is not less than the net asset value. Now, the net asset value, just to simplify it for the participants, the net asset value is basically the net assets of a private fund divided by the number of units of the private fund. So you get a net asset value per unit. And when you get that per unit net asset value, for example, again, using an example that it's 10 rupees. So right now, if according to the general exemption principle adopted by the State Bank, the purchase price should not be less than 10 rupees. So you have to either buy it at 10 rupees or 12 rupees or 15 rupees, but you can't buy it at 9 rupees or 7 rupees. If you could get to the next slide, please. जी, तो अब foreigners के investment के लिए what type of situations have been catered? Because there are different stages in the life cycle of a private fund that foreigners would be investing in and then exiting from. So the first scenario that is catered is number one, issuance and private placement of the new units. So when the fund at the start is issuing new units, the FE manual now allows that those units can be issued to a foreign investor, and the foreign investor can remit the subscription money for those units directly into the fund's account, and the amount will be converted from wherever they are sending to a rupee amount, right? So initial issuance of the fund units is covered, then transfer of units of private funds is covered. So for transfer of units, it could be that a foreigner decides to sell the units to a local Pakistani investor and take the proceeds back to their country, or it could be that a foreign investor decides to sell to another foreign investor. And in that case, there would not be any transfer in terms of the actual flow of cash. Rather, the unit title would be changed from one foreign investor to another foreign investor, right? So transfer of units is allowed, issuance and private placement of units is allowed. In addition to that, there is a possibility that, when the private fund is growing in size, or maybe the private fund wants to solicit more money, it can reinvest dividends and the money that it's making from its investment, and it can reinvest that, or it can issue additional units as bonus shares. So once it issues additional units as bonus shares, again, the issue of getting the money into Pakistan against the issuance of those bonus units is addressed under the general exemption. Then we have remittance of dividend to non-resident investors, because by holding those units, the main thing that you are trying to get back is the return of the money that you've invested in. So that dividend can be remitted to the foreign investor without any special permission from the State Bank, and you can just go through that with the general exemption. And lastly, the fund, you want to divest from the fund. So once you've divested from the fund, what happens is that you've let go of your units of the fund has completed its entire life, and now you want to take that money back to wherever you invested from. So that is also covered. And the important thing here is that the State Bank of Pakistan has trusted the authorized dealers network, which generally are banks and foreign exchange dealers, and it's trusted the authorized dealers network, and they are basically required to maintain the transaction data and the amount of money that is coming in and going out, and the number of units that are being issued and the number of units that are being redeemed. So the State Bank requires the authorized dealers to maintain certain information, which I think would get a bit boring. I'll get into it in the next slide. Ji, please. Thank you. All right, so there are some procedural requirements which are regarding export of securities. Now, see, issuance of units to foreigners, the FE manual categorizes it as export of securities to non-resident investors, right? So for that, it requires some basic documentation to be maintained by the authorized dealer, such as the business profile of the person who is investing, of the foreigner who is investing. Then, if it's a company, then the memorandum of association, the certificate of incorporation, then the primary thing that the State Bank requires is the share purchase agreement, or as we call it, the unit purchase agreement. The agreement between the fund management, the unit. Sorry, Umar, which slide are we on? All right, this slide. Yes. So the unit purchase agreement, and then the terms and conditions of that agreement, and then the memorandum and articles of association, and the pattern of shareholding. So it's all about complying with the anti-money laundering laws and complying with the requirements that yes, the investment is for a defined purpose and the money is going to be used for a prescribed and notified purpose. If you could just go to the next slide, please. All right, so there are three scenarios in divestment which are very important to highlight. And previously, the foreign exchange manual, since it didn't recognize the private funds, it could not also recognize the fact that a private fund could, a foreigner could invest in a private fund at a certain value and then withdraw that money at a much more inflated value. For example, if a company is giving me 3 times the return on my investment or 22 times the return on my investment, then that money, extracting that money was a problem under the earlier FE manual. So now what has happened is that divestment, if it is not exceeding the net asset value of the fund, then the State Bank has prescribed certain basic requirements that, you give the name and address of the non-resident, and you give a copy of the latest quarterly net asset value, which is, verified by an auditor. So the purpose is that this permission should not be used to just be using foreign investors to be funneling money into the country and then funneling money out of the country at much more inflated rates. So the checks and balances in that context have been imposed by the State Bank through various, regulatory or say documentational requirements. If you could just go to the next slide, Umar. Right. Again, for divestment exceeding the NAV, then the problem is that a foreign investor is getting more money than the actual worth of the fund at a particular date. So for that, the foreign investor is required to give detailed justification and rationale and basis for setting a particular transaction price. And this is not like something that would stop the transaction. The foreign investor would be entitled to draw the money, but this is just some documentation that they would have to submit. So there could be a detailed valuation and transaction due diligence by a buyer, so which has to be shared with the State Bank. So you're basically just justifying why you are buying it at a more inflated price as compared to the actual worth of the fund. We just go to the next slide. All right. So once like I said, private funds normally have a defined life. So they will be taking money from, qualified institutions and eligible investors for a certain period of time. It would be 7 years, 10 years. And in that period, they would have a disclosed objective that, we will be investing in this nature of company. And then we will be pulling out our money in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. So what happens is that the fund, after a certain predefined period of time, is going into winding up. And then the fund finishes and gives the proceeds that were invested along with any profits or gains earned thereon back to the investors that had invested in the fund. So that situation is basically divestment due to maturity of units of the fund. So even that is now recognized in the foreign exchange manual. And against that, what has to be done is that if a foreigner wants to remit money outside Pakistan against the investment that it had made in the private fund, then it has to, the private fund management company can coordinate with the authorized dealer and then submit them a winding up report, which will be verified by an external auditor and the trustee of the fund. And, it will give a unit holder investment statement of basically categorizing how many units the foreign investor had. And it will give a distribution statement, which will basically include the principal amount and the gain amount that is being remitted to the investor. Now, just very briefly, again, not intending to bore the participants, but for this, the State Bank has trusted the authorized dealers network, and the authorized dealers network are now required to maintain information regarding the entire life cycle of the investment by a particular foreigner in a private equity and venture capital fund. And for that, there are different requirements that, there has to be a centralized record. The record has to be submitted digitally and electronically to the State Bank of Pakistan on a regular basis. And then, if the State Bank requires, it can access that record in its inspections, in its off-site examinations, so that there is always going to be some documentation backing the investment and disinvestment of a foreigner in a private equity and venture capital fund. So that's about it from our side, and I hope this session was useful for you, and if there are any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Sajjad. Thank you, Umar, for this nice presentation. You have briefed the recent interventions of SCCP. So I would, there were some questions that they are technical jargons. Basically, we were talking about with regards to startups and the investments in startups. Normally what happens that private fund was very difficult to basically manage in Pakistan, registered in Pakistan, and then invest in Pakistan. So SCCP has basically उसके अंदर काफ़ी ज़्यादा changes की हैं. ये private funds जब बनेंगे, इन्हीं फंड्स में जो बेसिकली फंड होगा, इसी से स्टार्टअप्स में इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है अर्ली स्टेज के ऊपर, सीड राउंड में, प्री सीड राउंड में और सीरीज ए बी सी में काफ़ी ज़्यादा चैलेंजेस आती हैं क्योंकि स्टार्टअप डाइज एट अर्ली स्टेज ड्यू टू देयर कैश पोजीशन. If they have a good investment, that they can contribute for foreign exchange, they can build their companies and hire more people. पाकिस्तान में वैसी ज़रूरत है एंटरप्रेन्योरल जर्नी की क्योंकि we are producing many graduates, but they are looking for jobs, but we need businesses. We need businesses. If we need businesses, we need investments. We need these sort of funds. So basically, इस फंड को SCCP की तरफ से easy करने की भी यही है कि ताकि प्राइवेट बिजनेसेस के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हो. इसके अंदर उमर और सज्जाद ने एक्सप्लेन किया. नाउ यू हैव ऑप्शंस. आप प्राइवेट फंड बना लें, आप अदर अल्टरनेट फंड बना लें और उसके लिए सारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं. व्हेन यू ट्राई टू form this fund, then you will be going to SCCP. You will have specific idea what needs to be done. So normally इस context में ज़्यादा पैसा बाहर का जो investors होते हैं, non resident हैं या ex पाकिस्तानी हैं, living abroad, they have money and they want to invest in local businesses. उसके अंदर उनके पैसों के what happens if they invest, will they be able to get this money back to their countries और इस तरह की questions हैं. So I think let's start. We have short time. Let's start with question and answer. We have many questions. अगर मैं generic बात करूँ तो इसमें you said that this is going to be a closed fund, private fund या venture capital fund. So is there any time a line for that? Is it going to be a 7 years, 12 years? What's the timeline? What's the closed end fund? Or it can be a 50 years long fund?
Okay, so this is a very good question, and I think judging by the questions, because this session was intended, just to clarify at the beginning, that this session was intended to build on the measures that have already been taken, but we would love to have a more basic level session explaining exactly what a private fund is and its life cycle and its components and how it is syncing in with the startup environment in SCC in Pakistan. And maybe we can have, some of the questions that I'm seeing, maybe we can have a simpler session for that. So we're available for that as well. But coming to your question, see, the life of the private fund will be defined in the placement memorandum. Now, the placement memorandum is the document which the investor will be agreeing to for subscribing the units of a private fund. So it could be 7 years, it could be 10 years. Generally, what we're experiencing in Pakistan and across the world is that, a private fund which is relatively longer term, but it would like to encash its investment in a 7 to 10 year period. Some funds are also launched with a 5-year period. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Okay.
And it's not hard coded in the regulations. So the regulations don't specifically say that it has to be a certain life.
So most of the questions you will see is basically with regards to startup ecosystem, because we are national incubation, we have the public which is more focused on startup. And let's go down to question section. Let's answer the Zulfikar is saying big achievement, and then technical jargon. We have explained that. Asfandiar is basically asking how is VC fund different from angel fund? Both are investing in unlisted companies, but maybe at different stages. Like angel fund will invest in early stage, और VC जो है वो invest करता है series A, B, C के अंदर. तो आप SCCP के पास is it a same fund और सब categorization है कि angel fund है या VC fund है, or is it a different nature?
जी, ये basically sub categorization है. I think you've picked up on the core issue. ये सारी सब कैटेगराइजेशंस आएंगी, आप हमसे जो लाइसेंस लेंगे वो वेंचर कैपिटल फंड का लेंगे। अब उस वेंचर कैपिटल फंड में फिर आप सब कैटेगराइजेशंस अपनी बना सकते हैं कि वो एंजल फंड है, एसएमई फंड है, वो किसी और कैटेगरी का फंड है। सो दीज आर जस्ट सब कैटेगराइजेशंस। ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू गिव clarity in terms of the investment objective of the fund, and to ensure, again, like I said, segregation of the assets of each fund and the investment objectives of each fund. So this is there for facilitation.
Related था कि for example if someone has formed a angel fund maybe or कोई एक specific industry fund जैसे like you said for maybe health tech startups or maybe other businesses, so there was a percentage 70% can be invested, 70 should be invested in that particular domain, 30% can be invested in otherwise. Am I correct or?
जी, absolutely. ये आपका सवाल, again, I'm really grateful that you're asking these questions because I wanted to cover them in the presentation, but I was getting these technical jargon comments, so I didn't go into them. See, the thing is that 70% you can invest. So for example, we can take a case where there is a business, and in that business, there is a certain amount of valuation regarding the assets of the business, and then there is a valuation of the goodwill of the business. So what happens is that in terms of the earlier regulations, what happened was that we had allowed investment in the shares and the value of the company in terms of the assets. So now we've given the flexibility that 70% you can invest in the assets of a company, and then the remaining 30%, maybe you want to invest in goodwill, maybe you want to invest in other avenues, such as maybe you want to keep it in a bank and generate some good income based on high interest rates, as we were experiencing about a year back. So we've given a lot more flexibility in terms of the category that you can choose, and again, the percentage that you have to keep in that particular category.
That category can be changed later on, or
category can only be changed unless you आपके पास वो 75% unit holder approval, और उसके अंदर फिर you have to change the trust deed or the placement memorandum. वो जो initially the document which you get the approval on, वो आपको फिर change कराना पड़ता है. Then you have to get the approval from the unit holders first, और फिर वो SECP के पास लेके आना पड़ता है. Usually people don't do that.
तो इसमें just one thing, Ali, that again what you've touched upon is very important, and Omar has explained it perfectly. The thing is that आपका जो देखें, अगर मैंने आपके पास पैसा एक प्राइवेट फंड में लगा दिया है, तो हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि अब आप अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑब्जेक्टिव मुझे बताए बगैर या मेरी इजाजत के बगैर चेंज ना करें बहुत ज्यादा, क्योंकि मैंने आपको एक सर्टेन ऑब्जेक्टिव के लिए पैसा दिया है, वो पैसा उसी ऑब्जेक्टिव के लिए यूज हो. और अगेन लाइक आई सेड, तो जो एडवांटेज है लोगों को प्राइवेट फंड के थ्रू किसी स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट करने का, वो वहां पे आपकी जो ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, वहां पे आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव के हवाले से जो एक कंसिस्टेंसी है, वो सारी चीजें आपको इस स्पेस में मिलती हैं SECP रेगुलेटेड एरिया में. ठीक है सर?
इसमें स्पेसिफिक जो प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंजेस आते हैं व्हेन यू इन्वेस्ट, फॉर एग्जांपल मे बी in a health tech startup, वो चल नहीं रहा होता. Normally what happens in startup, they basically pivot. They pivot very fast because they have to survive. For example, if you have invested in a particular domain but the startup has pivoted, what will happen then?
जो इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है ना, उस कंपनी के अंदर हुई होगी. So for instance, XYZ कंपनी है, वो उसके अंदर प्रोडक्ट्स भी खरीदी होंगी, तो their product can fail and it cannot fail. तो जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है, that's basically in the company itself. वो तो XYZ के अंदर हुई हुई है ना already.
I was basically referring to a case where like again, if the company is changing its objectives, then it need to update it to SECP, and so there were many...
No. One very key point that I think, Ali, what you need to understand is that, and people at NIC also need to understand, that's going to, probably encourage more private funds for being licensed at SECP as well. So if you've invested in a company and that company has not been successful, number one, when the private fund management company is making an investment, it is undertaking extensive due diligence and extensive forecasting, and then they have their whole team of experts that is running, after various businesses and evaluating sectors and demographics and economic developments, and so I'm not saying that an investment by a private fund would be sure shot, but they do a lot of due diligence, number one. Number two, the investment objective could be investing in a particular sector, right? So if I've invested in an online gaming business, or my objective would not only be online gaming, it could be online, online businesses. So I can, have that failure on my books, but maybe from another company that I've invested in, I could make, say, 30 times the return of my investment. So
So there was some recommendation. The people are asking if you can share the slides.
We'll get back to you on that, Ji. We'd love to share the slides, but let me just find out internally what the process is, and
Sure. And then going why, so there are some questions regarding crowdfunding. I think this is not the topic for now. We will have another session if there are requirement for such information. Why general public cannot get into it?
Yes, very important. So the general public, again, cannot get into it because, like I said, this is a high risk investment. And as you sitting in NIC and the discussion that we had, so, maybe 2 in 25 startups are going to be successful. So we would like that the people who are investing in such avenues are risk savvy, investment savvy, and they have the funds and the knowledge to, some basic knowledge about the management. While the private fund management company would be giving them a lot of assistance in that area, but they have to have a certain minimum qualification criteria where generally someone from right off the street is not made to invest in something which is so complicated. Umar, if you'd like to add to this, please.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, point इसमें होता क्या है कि आप अब जिस तरह normal एक IPO होता है, and you would see general public putting their money in the IPOs ना, ये जो आ रहे होते हैं अक्सर वो 500 shares आ रहे होते हैं, 250 shares वो लोग उसमें पैसे डालते हैं. लेकिन इसके अंदर होता क्या है क्योंकि बेसिकली ये लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है. इट्स नॉट अ शॉर्ट टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट. दिस इन्वेस्टमेंट वुड गो ऑन फॉर 4 years, 5 years, 7 years. इसके अंदर देयर इज एन एग्रीमेंट व्हिच यू हैव टू साइन. इसके अंदर देयर मोर टेक्निकल थिंग्स इन्वॉल्वड विद इन द प्रोसेस. इट इज the risk factor would be the same as buying any share or investing in debt. So risk factor is not an issue. The main issue is to understand कि आप invest कर किधर रहे हैं. So that is the main issue जिसकी वजह से ना कि we don't say कि जी public पूरी आके general public इसके अंदर invest कर ले. We would want people who have money जिनको पता है कि they have their own due diligence, वो अपनी करते हैं इसके ऊपर analysis होते हैं. We would want them to invest their money within the private equity and venture capital.
Fund वो question मैंने पहले पूछा था, what about the private equity invest in one company and the company pivots? उसका हमने आंसर कर दिया है कि इसलिए पब्लिक की इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है ताकि जो है ड्यू डिलिजेंस और वो इस तरह हो. सहर आसिफ ने पूछा है कि यू हैव कवर्ड फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट इन लोकल वीसी फंड. व्हाट अबाउट लोकल फंड इन्वेस्टिंग इन फॉरेन स्टार्टअप्स? इज दैट अलाउड? इज देयर एन एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी अप्रूवल फॉर दैट? प्राइवेट फंड इन पाकिस्तान इन्वेस्टिंग इन फॉरेन स्टार्टअप्स.
जी, अभी तो जो हमारे प्राइवेट फंड्स हैं वो लोकल ही इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए अलाउड हैं, बट आई थिंक वंस द स्पेस डेवलप्स एंड वी हैव मोर एक्सेप्टेंस, बिकॉज राइट नाउ अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारी प्राइवेट फंड इंडस्ट्री बड़ी एक नेसेंट स्टेज पे है जी. तो the industry has to grow, and then maybe they can get to a size where they can actually explore international investments and bring those proposals to us.
इसमें इशू ये आता है कि for example, if a private fund investing in local startup, it will invest a certain amount maybe at seed round or maybe series A. लेकिन if you are growing, you need to raise bigger investments. उसके लिए you will be needing to form a company maybe in foreign regulatory environment, because the investor asks you to establish a foreign company and ultimately shifting the local shares into a foreign company. So ultimately, the private equity funds investment will go into it will become a subsidiary of a foreign company. So there are such problems with.
No, I completely agree. And this question, I think all of you have read the Chapter 20 FE manual in the context of the holdco structure that has just been allowed to the startups, where they can establish a holdco in a foreign jurisdiction and put money in that holdco and then bring that money into Pakistan. Well, for now, our objective is that our private funds, since they've been given the permission to solicit money directly from the foreign investors, So they can solicit money directly from the foreign investors into the locally domiciled fund right now. And that fund is registered with the SECP and licensed. The company is licensed by the SECP. So I think foreign investors have a lot of comfort in terms of investing in such an avenue, rather than requesting that our licensed private fund to come to say the Bahamas and establish a company there so that they can put in their money. But this is something which, as the industry evolves, we can definitely be looking at.
Murtaz again asking if a startup pivots and the fund has invested in particular domain, but it has pivoted, तो कोई additional requirement है, procedural requirement? ये काफी दफा क्वेश्चन वही सी स्पेसिफिक में आ रहा है. असल में सज्जाद, what happens अगर for example COVID many startups pivoted, they started from maybe agri-tech, jumped into e-commerce with the same businessman, same company profile, so they pivot very fast.
तो इसमें देखिए पिवट में जो
it does not make any difference ना. Sorry, आप
देखिए मैं उमर को मैं आपकी बात समझ गया हूँ. देखिए इसमें मेन कंफ्यूजन पता क्या है? मेन कंफ्यूजन इसमें ये है कि आप ये समझें कि प्राइवेट फंड का ऑब्जेक्टिव एक कंपनी को चलाना है, उसको बनाना है, या फिर उस कंपनी को अक्वायर करके उसको बेचना है. तो उसने अपना गेन एक प्राइवेट फंड ने बुक करना है. तो द प्राइवेट फंड मैनेजमेंट कंपनी, इफ द कंपनी इज पिवटिंग, सो इट्स नॉट लाइक समथिंग कि वो एक फायर सेल करके बस भाग जाएगी गिव अप करके. सो इट कुड हैव स्ट्रेटजीज ऑन हाउ टू काउंटर a certain
we are running short time. Let's cover the questions as much as we can. इसमें एक क्वेश्चन है, can accredited investor criteria be clarified? और उसमें पूछा हुआ है कि अगर मिनिमम जो 3 मिलियन की रिक्वायरमेंट थी वो नहीं है, तो अब क्या मिनिमम कोई रिक्वायरमेंट है या मिनिमम कुछ भी हो सकता है?
जी ये आई वाज स्क्रॉलिंग थ्रू द क्वेश्चंस और मेरा इंतजार था कि इस क्वेश्चन पे आए, तो इट्स गिवन मी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. जी ये प्राइवेट फंड की रेगुलेशंस हमारे वेबसाइट पे रखी हुई हैं SECP के. आई विल आल्सो फॉरवर्ड यू द लिंक. तो इन रेगुलेशंस में को इफ समवन इज इंटरेस्टेड दे कैन गो थ्रू देम. लाइसेंसिंग के लिए हमारे NBFC रूल्स हैं, उनमें भी यू कैन कॉन्टैक्ट अस. कोई भी क्लैरिफिकेशन, कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए हो. अभी फिलहाल एलिजिबल इन्वेस्टर का क्राइटेरिया ये है कि उसका अदर देन पर्सनल रेजिडेंस उसके पास 1.5 करोड़ होना चाहिए. ठीक है, तो 1.5 करोड़ की वेल्थ अगर उसके पास है तो वो क्वालिफाइड इन्वेस्टर है. मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट की लिमिट हमने हटा दी है. पहले ये लिमिट थी and people are telling us that it's too restrictive, so we've removed that limit. Now it is up to the investor and the company.
कुछ क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टर पर्सपेक्टिव हम कवर करेंगे, क्योंकि काफी ज्यादा इन्वेस्टर जो हमारी इस सेशन को सुन रहे हैं, they might be invested in investing in a private fund क्योंकि it gives them more security. So my question would be, what does investing through provident fund benefit investor? How does, and what advantages does the private PF structure offers to investor? जो भी private equity के funds है, investor को क्या मिलेगा?
ये बड़ा जरूरी सवाल किया जी. इन्वेस्टर को क्या मिलेगा?
और अच्छा सवाल है.
तो इन्वेस्टर को सर सबसे पहले तो आपका जो पैसा है वो एक प्रोफेशनली मैनेज्ड एंटिटी, एक कंप्लीटली ट्रांसपेरेंट और सेग्रीगेटेड इन्वेस्टमेंट पूल के अंदर डाल के इन्वेस्ट कर रही होगी. नंबर 1, वो जो प्रोफेशनली मैनेज्ड एंटिटी है वो जहां पे इन्वेस्ट कर रही होगी उसका भी प्रॉपर ड्यू डिलिजेंस कर रही होगी मुख्तलिफ, और उसका जो पूल होगा उसके अंदर आपको पता है कि एडवांटेज ऑफ पूलिंग फंड्स इज ऑलवेज देयर. तो आपका पैसा इज गोइंग टू बी मेड पार्ट ऑफ अ बिग पूल ऑफ मनी, एंड दैट मनी विल मोस्ट लाइकली नॉट बी इन्वेस्टेड इन वन ऑल योर एग्स इन वन बास्केट. वो मुख्तलिफ कंपनीज में इन्वेस्ट होगा, हर कंपनी का ड्यू डिलिजेंस होगा, हर कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करने की उसकी एक्सपर्टीज होगी. नंबर 1. तो उसके साथ जो ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, और उसके साथ सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि जो कंपनी आप वैसे किसी कंपनी के अगर अनलिस्टेड कंपनी के शेयर्स एक्वायर कर लोगे तो यू वोंट हैव मच से इन दैट कंपनी एंड हाउ टू रन दैट कंपनी. मगर जब आप एक प्राइवेट फंड के पूल के थ्रू उस कंपनी के अंदर इन्वेस्ट करते हो तो दैट प्राइवेट फंड कुड गेट seats on the board, it could get some preferential treatments, it could have a say in the management of the company, appointment of CEO of the company. तो वहां पे आपका जो कंट्रोल उस अनलिस्टेड कंपनी पे है वो बहुत ज्यादा बेहतर होता है. एंड देन अगेन द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द प्राइवेट फंड इज टू मैक्सिमाइज इट्स इन्वेस्टमेंट, सो इट विल बी मेकिंग श्योर कि जो इन्वेस्टर ने पैसा दिया है इट इज लुकिंग आफ्टर इट प्रॉपर्ली. उमर, इफ यू लाइक टू ऐड समथिंग टू इट प्लीज.
बिल्कुल. और फॉर इंस्टेंस आपके जो पैसे हैं वो एक्चुअली इन्वेस्ट वही होंगे जहां आपने एम किया होगा, जहां आपने वो प्लेसमेंट मेमोरेंडम में कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट है जहां उसमें उन्होंने मेंशन किया होगा कि जी यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट है वो उधर ही होगी, और पैसे आपके प्राइवेट फंड मैनेजमेंट कंपनी के नहीं पास होते, वो एक ट्रस्टी रखता है अपने पास आपके, ये तो आपके एसेट्स भी सेफ होते हैं, सिक्योर होते हैं, आपका कोई पैसा लेके भाग नहीं रहा। ये नहीं है कि आपने फार्मा में इन्वेस्ट करना था और वो जाकर रियल एस्टेट खरीद के बैठ गया अपने लिए। तो वो इस तरह की चीजें नहीं है। जब आप प्रॉपर चैनल के थ्रू चलते हैं, फुल उसके अंदर आप हमारे रेगुलेटरी एम्बिट के अंदर होते हैं, तो सारे चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस होते हैं।
इसमें एक सवाल है कि टैक्स हॉलिडे कितने अरसे की है, या ये गवर्नमेंट चेंज होते ही टैक्स हॉलिडे भी खत्म हो जाएगी?
सर ये टैक्स हॉलिडे का बड़ा जो है वो इम्पोर्टेंट सवाल है, और इसके अंदर पहले अभी हमारे प्राइवेट फंड्स को पास थ्रू स्टेटस मिला हुआ था, यानी कि प्राइवेट फंड को जो पैसा आता था उसके ऊपर कोई कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स नहीं था। प्राइवेट फंड को, इन्वेस्टर को डिविडेंड के ऊपर टैक्स पड़ता था, और दैट वाज अबाउट इट। अभी देर द पर्सन आस्किंग अबाउट टैक्स, आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग कि उन्होंने अभी ये इनकम टैक्स सेकंड अमेंडमेंट ऑर्डिनेंस भी देख ली होगी। तो इसके अंदर ये पास थ्रू स्टेटस जहां पे खत्म हुआ है, वहां पे जो हमने बताया ना कैपिटल गेन की एग्जेम्पशन, वो रिटेन की गई है। तो और दूसरा, ये पास थ्रू स्टेटस पहले जो था वो 2024 तक की इजाजत थी, एंड इट वाज कॉजिंग अ लॉट ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ के फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर्स भी कहते थे कि यार ये तो 2024 तक है, आपने अभी 2022 में फंड लॉन्च करना है, तो 2 साल बाद जब ये पास थ्रू स्टेटस खत्म होगा तो ट्रांजैक्शन के सारे डायनामिक्स तो चेंज हो जाएंगे। तो वो 2024 वाला क्लॉज अभी फिलहाल के लिए खत्म हो गया है, और इसमें जो कैपिटल गेन की एग्जेम्पशन है उसके ऊपर अभी कोई टाइम बार नहीं है, एंड दैट क्लॉज इज होपफुली हियर टू स्टे इन द इनकम टैक्स ऑर्डिनेंस।
अगेन एनआईसी के स्टार्टअप हैं मेहर, वो भी वही सवाल कर रही हैं कि दे हैव रजिस्टर्ड कंपनी इन यूएसए बट वर्किंग इन पाकिस्तान एज वेल, तो प्राइवेट फंड क्या यूएस की होल्डको के अंदर इन्वेस्ट कर सकेगा कि नहीं?
तो ये इसका एग्जैक्टली जी यही है जवाब, जिस तरह हमने पहले बताया कि ये मेरे ख्याल है जो होल्डको स्ट्रक्चर दूसरा वाला अनरेगुलेटेड साइड पे, उसमें तो ये अलाउ हो गया। एंड लेट्स प्रे एंड होप दैट आवर इंडस्ट्री ग्रोज टू द पॉइंट वेयर इस तरह की इन्वेस्टमेंट्स वो कर सके, एंड यू नो वी गोइंग टू बी ओपन टू इट वंस वी रीच दैट पॉइंट।
Because of these, again they are requesting कि अगर कोई step by step guide हो to farming, क्योंकि normally people they look for consultants, and if maybe helping एक document हो जिसमें if someone
जब
wants to
भी फॉर्मेशन किसी ने भी करनी हो अपनी एनबीएफसी की और आगे प्राइवेट फंड लॉन्च करना हो, दे डोंट हैव टू गो टू अ कंसल्टेंट, दे कैन ऑलवेज कम टू एससीसीपी, आके हम लोगों से आके डायरेक्टली भी कर सकते हैं इंटरैक्ट, उसमें इट्स नॉट एन इशू। वी डू हैव अ डायग्राम, हमने अपने पेज पे डाला भी हुआ है एससीसीपी के वेब पेज पे, उसमें पूरा प्रोसेस समझाया हुआ है कि हाउ यू कैन फॉर्म एनबीएफसी एंड लॉन्च अ फंड।
So there are some hand raised and attendees. If I give the opportunity to Mohammad Hadi, and I'm allowing him to talk. Hadi, if you can, you are on mute. Please speak up.
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम Sajjad and Umar, thank you so much for the presentation, बड़ा helpful था। I just want to make one distinction, जो आपको एक दो questions मिले हुए हैं, they are regarding the change in chapter 20 of the foreign exchange manual vis-a-vis private companies. आप दोनों ने, you've given us a fantastic overview as it pertains to private funds and venture funds, which is perfectly relevant. वो मैं समझ गया, and I think you've been very clear on what you've explained. Those of us who are startup founders are also very interested in the possibility of setting up a holdco offshore, क्योंकि हकीकत ये है कि आपके जो 99% institutional investors बाहर बैठे हैं वो पाकिस्तान में directly पैसे डालने नहीं चाहते. So for us to understand how to implement this very useful change in the FE manual would be really helpful if you could explain it, because we don't really know. I think maybe I agree with your sentiment कि इंशाल्लाह वो दिन आएगा जबकि बाहर के इन्वेस्टर्स जो हैं, फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर्स जो हैं, वो पाकिस्तान में डायरेक्टली पैसे डालना चाहेंगे. जब तक कि वो नहीं होता हम मजबूर हैं, we have to set it up to raise it in that way. So if you could explain to us what is the process to set up the holdco and gain approval from the SPP? Is it through authorized dealers कि उनको directly apply करते हैं, वो किस तरह से होता है? That would be very helpful.
All right, so that was one area where unfortunately I won't be able to answer, because that देखिए ये वाला जो holdco setup और ये सारा है ना, ये that is coming directly under SBP's own framework. तो इसके अंदर हमारा जो रोल है वो रह जाता है प्राइवेट कंपनी की रजिस्ट्रेशन और वो सारी चीजें. But this transaction flow is slightly outside our scope of activity as SCCP. So unfortunately, won't be able to help you out there, Ji.
Perfect. No problem. Thank you.
Let's take one more question from Amir. Amir, if you can speak up, what is your question?
I think Amir Saab is on mute, Ji.
Amir, are you there? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, move to maybe Adil Hassan. Adil, if you are there, please ask your question. Let's move to Murtaza Khan. Murtaza, if you can mute yourself and speak up.
Hello?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Hi, Sajad and Umar. Thank you for the presentation. It was really informational. I have a couple of questions. How do you guys compare yourself with, investments like jahan tak tax ka sawal hai? So how do we benefit when you compare yourself to some place like Cayman Islands?
All right.
And
So is that
second
a question?
Yeah, is that a question? And that is a question. And the second question is कि जब share prices float होती हैं या company release करता है, so that does the State Bank of Pakistan or the SCEP have any influence over it, or is it like a completely private decision?
All right. So your question has two parts.
Yes.
For the Cayman Islands, I'd really need to, look at their tax environment and study their tax law to determine. Obviously, from what I understand, it's a lot more open, and investing there and then taking money from there, investing in other places is a lot more open in terms of their, foreign exchange policy as well. For the tax, what I can tell you is that in Pakistan, we've made major, accomplishments, we would call, in terms of having some benefit where if you're investing directly in a private company as compared to investing in a private company through a private fund. So our objective is that if an investor invests in a private company through a private fund, they should not in any way be disadvantaged by taking this route as compared to directly investing in a private company. So the concept of tax neutrality has been ensured in the income tax ordinance. And what we're trying to do is get further benefits in terms of wider coverage of the private fund definition, and maybe also get the pass-through status extended beyond 2024, which has unfortunately recently been discontinued. But for the Cayman Islands, I think I'll have to get back to you on that, and maybe you can contact us and we can have a separate session. And as regards the share price. See, we have mechanics in place where we are not going to be directly monitoring each and every company's share price. So we have accountants for that. We have, chartered accountants who are doing the audit and who are verifying the assets of the company. And then we have different mechanics where the regulator itself is not going to be directly monitoring the share prices of unlisted companies. Yes, for listed companies, we have a surveillance department that is, monitoring the trading activity in a particular security, and once it reaches a certain, if there is wide fluctuation in a share price of a listed company, then the SCCP surveillance department would kick in. But that's a whole different
But to answer,
point out there.
To answer your question, if you want to sell your shares at a lower price, that is your decision. And if you want to sell it at a higher price and you have a buyer, then you can always sell it at a higher price. So when it comes to that, SCCP या State Bank किसी का कोई उसमें interference नहीं होती है.
I think we are beyond our time. Agar speakers are not busy elsewhere, we can take one more question. It depends.
We're here for any questions and any subsequent sessions or whatever, because I'm loving the interest that people are showing in this topic.
So there are like 48 questions and we have answered most of them. There are again some, I think let's go for maybe closing this session. It was very helpful. Sajad and Umar, you gave us time and you explained it very well. And there are certain, if you can check on your side and can share the slide deck, we might be able to share with our audience. And also, if the public, if you're basically those who are listening, you can put your question on our Facebook live stream, and maybe Umar or Sajjad or anyone from SCCP can answer those questions on the live sessions. It will be very helpful, and they can reply to those questions at the time of their ease. So thank you, Sajjad, thank you, Umar, and thank you. Basically, the innovation office that is basically working with us to have such a great sessions, and we will have more sessions like of this. Any last words from your sides?
Just one thing, that if anybody contacts you for further information on private funds and how to set up a private fund management company, they're more than welcome to come to us, and we can guide them throughout the entire process. We're probably going to send you the private fund regulations and a process flow regarding how to obtain a license and how to register a fund. And maybe you can also circulate it further if you like, and we're here for you, G, if anyone is interested. And thank you very much for such a wide outreach session, and we look forward to further sessions.
Thank you, Sajjad and Umar. Any last words?
Baji, thank you so much. Let's end this now, inshallah. If you have any questions, feel free to just contact us. It's not an issue.
So we'll be get in touch with you, and we request you to see our Facebook page for maybe questions. Okay, guys. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for asking such wonderful questions, and basically it helps us increase our knowledge, and it helps the regulator to understand the problem that this maybe fund managers or startups are facing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Allah Hafiz.